Hello, church family and friends. Pastor Daniel here this afternoon just to take a moment and say hello. Here I am in our beautifully remodeled church nursery. But I've got to tell you something. This place sure is quiet and lonely. I sure do miss all the beautiful sounds of life that come along with having church activity and just life and people and all of that. I miss the pitter patter of kids' feet running up and down the hallway, the activity and playing and the laughter that comes from the kids. And I miss hearing and seeing people visiting in the fellowship hall over a cup of coffee or in the foyer after a church service. I miss it all. It's really become a lonely place here. And I long for us to fill this house once again. In the meantime, don't forget that just because we're not in church doesn't mean we can't be the church. But I still miss you. I pray that you're doing well. I pray that you're healthy. And I do look forward to being able to be together again, to visit, to hug one another's neck, to catch up, and just find out what's been going on in one another's lives. Just a few thoughts on my mind this afternoon. Thought I'd take a moment and just share a little bit with you. There's so many things that we could be talking about right now. We could talk about social distancing. We could talk about the coronavirus. We could talk about stimulus packages and possible grants coming. We could talk about within those stimulus packages, the different things that are being offered to different entities. Even the church is the word that the church of America will be offered stimulus packages and grants and things like that. Should the church take money from the government? Look, you guys know me. I have thoughts on all of this and I have opinions on everything. And there's a time and there's a place for that. But that's really not my heart and my purpose behind being here today. I wanted to share some things with you because I know that we're supposed to be practicing social distancing. But when you have 7 children in your household, it does require you to go to the store and buy a few things as things get thin. And unfortunately, when you have 7 children and 9 people in your home, you find yourself running thin quite often. So the other day, I had to run to Bismarck to get a few odds and ends for our family. And I was just taken aback at how empty a lot of the stores are. Normally, as you can imagine, our family, we shop at Sam's. And when I walked in, well, I don't know if you've seen the pictures or if you've been there yourself, but there's pretty much nothing there. And that was just so surprising. And to go into Walmart and to see the empty shelves. In fact, just being right here in town and going to the local grocery store and seeing they're doing a great job of trying to keep things stocked, but if you hit it at the right time, you can catch some things looking pretty thin and bare there as well. So anyway, as I was walking through Sam's and walking through Walmart, there was a thought that just snuck up from the recesses of my mind, and the thought was this: a piece of bread could buy a bag of gold. Now, I don't know how many of you recognize that phrase, but that phrase is actually from a song that was written in the 60s by a man named Larry Norman. Now, it was the song was redone in the late 90s by a Christian music group called DC Talk. And some of you might not even know who they are, which is a very sad reality for you if that's the fact. However, nevertheless, there was a song that Larry Norman wrote called "I Wish We'd All Been Ready." And I couldn't help but begin to think about that song as I was walking through the grocery store and as I was just observing the empty shelves and some of the desperate looks on people's face. So anyway, as I was walking through and I began to think about this song, I just began to think about the idea of preparation. And this song, "I Wish We'd All Been Ready," is really based on a passage of scripture from Matthew chapter 24. And it's just a couple of verses there, verses 40 and 41. And I want to read them to you real quick. It says, "Then there will be 2 men in a field, one will be taken and one will be left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one will be left. Now, in chapter 24 here, it's referring to the second coming of Christ and what many people believe is the rapture and the result of the rapture. Now, if you know me personally, you know I even have thoughts and opinions on that as well. And again, I'm not here to discuss the theology behind it all. But what I do want to share is another passage of scripture that very closely follows the one I just read. It's in Matthew chapter 25, and it begins with verse 1. Listen to these verses. Then the kingdom of heaven will be compared to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were prudent. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the prudent took oil in flasks along with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom was delaying, they got drowsy and began to sleep. But at midnight there was a shout, "Behold the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the prudent, "Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out." But the prudent answered, "No, there will not be enough for us and you too. Go instead to the dealers and buy some for yourselves." And while they were going away to make the purchase, the bridegroom came. And those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the doors were shut. Later, the other virgins came, saying, "Lord, Lord, open up for us." But he answered, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Be on the alert then, for you do not know the day nor the hour." Now, again, I know that there are many thoughts behind this, and many of them are tied to the fact that this is also part of the conversation going on to the second coming of Christ. But I believe that there's another aspect of this that we can't miss, and it has to do with the second coming of Christ, but I believe it also just has to do with life in general, and that is the idea of preparation. You and I need to be prepared. We're called to be prepared, especially as Christians. We should have a bit of wisdom. We should have a bit of discernment about us. Well, there's a few things you've heard me talk about lately. But we ought to have some discernment about us, not just in the events that immediately surround our lives, but also in the bigger picture. How do these smaller events fit? How do these smaller pieces fit into the larger puzzle, the larger picture of what's going on, not just in the world, but in light of eternity? How do they fit? What kind of message do they send us? And how should we be prepared? Many of you know that my family and I, we lead a 4-H club called SWAT, Survival Ways and Training. And part of the purpose behind SWAT is to help young people learn some of the necessary skills that we need in different survival situations, whether it be, finding food, gathering food, or prepping that food, or cleaning water, or finding proper shelter, any of those types of things, to also knowing how to properly handle specific tools that can be used in those times. But the other side of SWAT is also helping our young people to become aware and observant in the situations that they find themselves in and in the environment that they find themselves in. It's about being prepared. It's about not just prepping, not just stocking up on goods and things like that, but it's about preparing our minds, and it's about preparing the abilities that we have as human beings, just to be sharper individuals so that we don't miss the smaller clues of life, as to kind of what's coming and how things could fall in place. One of the things that I've realized over the last few weeks as I've watched a lot of this coronavirus stuff unfold is people are not prepared. not just people in general, but Christians specifically, are not prepared. I wonder sometimes if we just think that Jesus Christ is going to show up on the scene one day and just miraculously zap us out of here in the rapture, and we're just not going to have to worry about all the small details of things. You know, I know there's a lot of different thoughts on the rapture, pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, and all sorts of other things. But within that, there is still many, many warnings from Jesus himself in the red letters of Scripture, many different warnings about we as God's children being prepared. So I just want to encourage you today, because it's not too late. What we're seeing right now with the coronavirus, and I know things are still kind of in motion and things are building, and schools canceling is being extended, and church canceling, and large gatherings, and all of that kind of stuff. The deadlines for those things just continue to be extended. I get it. But I really do believe, and I'm not a prophet, but I really do believe that this is not the end all for us, that we will see the end of the coronavirus before we see the end of mankind. But on the other hand, I also believe that this is kind of a wake up call for us. That, it took less than 3 days to wipe shelves of toilet paper. And it has taken less than 3 weeks to wipe our shelves in the stores of some of the necessities that we have in our homes. And I just believe that this is a wake-up call. I'm not calling everybody to go and dig bunkers and to start stockpiling things. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I am getting at is that we're not even mentally prepared. We're not even spiritually prepared for what may come in the future, down the road. And I just really believe that we need to do that. I believe that we need to heed a lot of the warnings of Scripture that we find, and that we need to be prepared. So I pray that you're doing well. Again, I love you guys so much, and I miss you. I look forward to seeing you again soon. We're still working on some things here at the church. We are working on getting the online giving up and running. We're trying to get those things integrated into the website right now. We're working on some things around the church, not just the deep cleaning and the disinfecting and all of that, but we've been working on some projects here. So there'll be a few small changes when you come in, and we'll see how many of them you're aware of, how many of them, how obvious they are to you in your observations of things. So anyway, I pray that you continue to do well. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to give me a call, especially if you just want to hear a friendly voice or need a word of prayer. I would love to be able to pray with you. But until we're able to get back together again, please know that I pray for you every day. We're praying for our church family by name. Many of my friends from around the North Central region and around the Southeast and all of that, praying for you too. Love you guys so much. I hope that you will be smart and you will practice some social distancing so that we can get this whole mess behind us. Let's move on here and all of that. But anyway, you be blessed. And have a great rest of your week here these next couple of days. And I pray that this weekend is blessed as well. And we'll be posting some more videos soon. So stay tuned. You be blessed. We'll see you soon. Love you.